Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's late, but this is going to be exciting. So just to start off, we all have a mobile phone in our pocket or on the table there. And the question is, what's the most important mineral or piece of that mobile phone? It's not the screen, it's not the battery, it's the invisible materials in that piece of kit that's actually making it work. And that is the rare earths. Rare earths are these quiet enablers of modern technology. You cannot have electric vehicles. We cannot have our famous ChatGPT AI. We cannot have defense systems without rare earths. But there is a big challenge here, and that challenge is that the supply chain, we are really building this 21st century economy on a 20th century supply chain. It's very fragile. It is very concentrated, and it's politically extremely unstable. I'm the CEO of Critica Limited, and we are building a critical metals platform which really gives you exposure across rare earths, gallium, yttrium, but also tin and tungsten. Just a normal disclaimer. Just to start very briefly on the market, if you look at critical minerals, it's no longer a mining story. This is all about national security, sovereignty, and supply chain resilience. If we look at these minerals that I've just spoken about, China controls the majority of the processing and supply of these, 98% of gallium, 85% of rare earths. In terms of tungsten, there's 80% being controlled by China and a large proportion of tin. And the world is now realizing this, and there's an urgency here. We see a lot of funding being made available by governments, the US specifically, 12 million through Project Vault, Australia through the Critical Minerals Strategic Supply, and also cooperation between these specific countries. Now, if we just briefly touch, given all of this that's happening, we've seen the fundamental re-rating and pricing of these minerals. So in terms of rare earths, it's doubled from where it was and even higher than it was a year ago. In terms of tungsten, each time I have this conversation every day, it's up another 100%, but it's probably up about 600-700% from the recent lows. And very similar with tin, which is double where it was from very recent lows that we've seen. Now, the more important thing is this is not cyclical. This is actual structural. Demand in this industry is accelerating and supply is constrained. But even more so, the demand is very price inelastic because these minerals are only a very small proportion and a small portion of the end product cost. And therefore, pricing, even this pricing increase, doesn't have an impact on the demand of these minerals. I think as a result, demand and supply really matters more than price going forward. So we are building a critical metals platform. And this is the more important slide probably to get to. We've got two assets. We've got Critica is our flagship, Jupiter is our flagship rare earth project. The largest clay-hosted rare earth resource in Australia is also the highest grade. And our second project is Mount Lindesay's tin and tungsten asset in Tasmania. Now, Jupiter I can explain in probably four key pieces. One, scale, 1.8 billion tons, and it's only the start of Jupiter, really, Australia's largest clay-hosted system. But probably where we really differentiate is in simplicity. It's a clay-hosted, it's not ionic clay, which means that our minerals are contained in defined minerals within the clay. We can therefore beneficiate up front, wash away these minerals, wash away the clay, concentrate the minerals into only 4% of the original mining volume. And what that translates to is a much smaller hydrometallurgical footprint, smaller reagents, smaller water use, and as a result, lower capex and optics. In terms of speed, we've got an exceptional team that's reporting to me. I'm a mining engineer. I've got 3 PhDs reporting to me, so I'm usually the dumbest person in the room. But with that, we have seen that we've moved from discovery to first commercial grade production of a mixed rare earth oxide in 23 months, which is significant for this industry. And then lastly, in terms of strategic relevance, given specifically if you look at the product, the mineral scope that Jupiter is presenting, it's not just rare earths, it's a multi-critical minerals platform. Now, just to talk a little bit more, very briefly on this slide, if you look at on the left-hand bottom, the graph there, that is Jupiter compared to our competitors, clay-hosted competitors in Australia. Again, it's in its class of its own. Jupiter itself represents only 3% of the total resource of our brothers project. And it's only one of 6 discoveries. So there's enormous growth potential when it comes to Jupiter itself. But where we really differentiate is when it comes to the mining piece, or at least simplicity, cost, and capital. So if you look at mining, it's clay-hosted resource. So as a result, there's no drilling and blasting required here. Very low stripping ratio, very close to the surface. But the real differentiator, as I mentioned earlier, is the fact that we can actually beneficiate up front, reduce the mass very quickly after mining by about 95%, and therefore have a much smaller footprint when it comes to specifically the hydrometallurgical piece. And if you lay on top of that where we are located in a tier 1 location in Western Australia, infrastructure rich. We don't have to build any port, any infrastructure from rail, road. All of this is already supplied, power line and gas lines running through the area itself. And then lastly, in terms of permitting, proven mining jurisdiction, flat terrain, pastoral leases, native title has been extinguished. So we can see that this project can move rapidly forward as far as development is concerned. Now, very quickly, just on the flow sheet, simplified flow sheet, mining is no drill and blast required here. We go through a simple beneficiation process. We immediately drop the mass by 95%. That waste material goes immediately back into our rehabilitated areas, and as a result, it's progressive rehabilitation. We then go into beneficiation, and in that area, we get a 10 times upgrade in the grade itself. So the material we actually then take through our hydromet is significantly reduced. And then first part there, as I mentioned, gallium as one of our byproducts. So it's the same flow sheet. We've been able to extract gallium, and then we precipitate our mixed rare earth carbonate or mixed rare earth oxide. We have successfully produced both those products on commercial grade with very low impurity levels. And of course, that is a very sought after product as an intermediate product going forward. Now, execution is extremely important. We've appointed Sedgman. Sedgman has been running since earlier this year on a scoping study for Jupiter. So it's really going to give us a good understanding of the economics of this project and also the next steps going forward. So we expect that in the next 2 or 3 months to deliver on the scoping study. And then lastly, just to touch on Mount Lindsay, tin and tungsten asset. It's one of the largest undeveloped tin tungsten assets in Australia itself. Very well positioned, significant in terms of both tin and tungsten resource, open at depth, and again in a significant jurisdiction familiar with both tin and tungsten mining. So we've recently appointed DRA. We reported that 2 days ago that DRA Global has been appointed to look after the scoping study for us for Mount Lindsay, and that again will give us a good understanding of the economics of this project. Execution, as I mentioned, extremely important. There's a number of near-term catalysts coming, both scoping studies for both these projects, as well as moving forward with offtake agreement discussions. We are well funded at the moment, so we've got just shy of $8 million on balance sheet or in the bank account, so well funded for both of these, execution of both of these projects. I think then, and lastly, just to bring this to a close, if you are interested in this space, if you're interested in critical minerals, then I think Critica is the vehicle. We are presenting, it's a single platform, multiple commodity or critical minerals, multiple demand drivers, and the main asset is Jupiter, optionality through our Mount Lindsay project, and lastly, the ticker is CRI. Thank you very much.